Let's get into some hockey talk, yeah? Talk about some NHL playoffs going on right now, starting the Western and Eastern Conference Finals for the 2025 NHL playoffs. Uh, Four really great teams going at it. We'll start in the Western Conference between the Dallas Stars and the Edmonton Oilers. Two really, really great, formidable teams going at it here. Super going to be such a high-powered series, and we're just going to kind of go into them a little bit, kind of what I like about both of them, kind of what I could see being an issue, and who I think could come out on top in this series. So we'll start with Edmonton, who just dismantled the Golden Knights in 5 games. Really was an impressive stretch for them. And look, they still really have a good team. They went to the finals last year. They really didn't do too much in the offseason. Still led by Connor McDavid, still led by Leon Draisaitl. It is a very, 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 very formidable team going into it. And, scoring for Leon Draisaitl has been a problem. 11 games played, 5 goals, 11 assists. It's kind of what you expect him to be at. Um, what's been the most surprising, I think, in particular towards them for this season and this postseason, has been their goaltending. I mean, their goaltending has been nothing short of really, really solid all around in both of their series between the Kings and the Golden Knights. And you have really two options you can go to, Stuart Skinner being the first one, and now Calvin Pickard, who in 7 games is 6-0 with a 2.94 goals against and a and a really good save percentage as well. I think overall, like you're looking at the Golden Knights, I mean, as Oilers, as usually the team that doesn't particularly do well. Save percentage is also under 900, but their goaltending has always been their issue, and defending has usually been their issue, but they've always made up for it in their prolific scoring, their prolific uh, threats, and Connor McDavid, and Leon Draisaitl together have always been like the counter to their bad defense. But I think this year they've put together a really solid defense. Like Evan Bouchard has been really good. John Klimberg, who they traded for, has been really good. Really good year from Darnell Nurse as well. Kind of had not a great series against the Kings, but really bounced back against the Golden Knights, I feel like. And yeah, I think what you've seen from their two goaltenders in Calvin Picard and Stuart Skinner has been much improved. I'm not going to say it's elite. I'm not going to say it's great. I'm going to say it's for what they've had the past 2, 3 years in the playoffs. This is a much improved goaltending situation to be in. However, I will say that playing the Kings and playing the Golden Knights, those offenses just do not match up to what the Stars are able to bring. But we'll get to that in a little bit. And I feel like overall, like this has been a really, really good run for the Edmonton Oilers this postseason. They haven't gotten hurt too much. They haven't had to play in a physical series. The Kings skated with them really well. But I think overall, what you're seeing is a really, really connected and really up to the challenge Edmonton Oilers team. And I think they have a bit of a chip on their shoulder because they did not have a good regular season. They obviously lost their massive Game 7 in the finals last year. Um, I think there's a bit of a stigma around them that McDavid can't win the big game and that they have all the star power and still can't get over the hump and they're still not a complete team. And I do feel that sense that this is kind of like their window closing and this is going to be their best chance to get out of the West. Um, and I do feel like this Edmonton Oilers team is really good. Their defense and the way they have everything set up, Chris Knobloch is doing a great job trying to remedy that and fix that. And I think at the end of the day, how this team is going to operate is going to come down to Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl having to score enough. Because quite frankly, that's how this team operates. It's not going to come from anywhere else. You may get a good hero or two, but for a possibly 7 game series, Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid have to be the stars that they are marketed to be, and they have been doing this off season. McDavid 4 goals, 14 assists, 18 points. Draisaitl mentioned before, 5 goals, 11 assists. They're contributing their part of it. They have to continue to do that for what is going to be, in my opinion, a long series. I think it's going to be a long series because their counter opponents, the Dallas Stars, are really good. They're really, really good. Um, they beat the Colorado Avalanche in 7 games, and what I figured was going to be the toughest first round opponent they were ever going to face. They took care of the Winnipeg Jets in 6, knocking off the first seed. And look, I really, really, really like this Dallas Star team. It is chock full of not only star players, but really, really great hockey players like Mikael Granlund, like Matt Duchene, Colin Blackwell, Wyatt Johnson, who's a great young player, uh, of Evgeny Dodonov, Matt Dumba, Cody Ceci, just like Eric Issa Lindell. Like these are hockey people. These are hockey gamers that have been around the league. It's a good mix of a solid veteran team that's hungry to win a championship because a lot of these guys on this team haven't won a Stanley Cup, and really good star young talent like a Jason Robinson or like a Wyatt Johnson or Rope Hintz. Like this is a good balance of having both of your veteran presence in that locker room and great young talent. They've built a really good team down in Dallas. I think you're starting to see the fruits of that labor and the fruits of that start to flourish. Um, and look, I really really like this team constructed wise. I think they play really solid as well. I think they're a bit more physical than people realize. I think their speed is kind of what gets them. Sometimes they don't really have great speed going into it, but I think they make up for it with just having an overall solid game plan. I really liked Thomas Harley in this series. I think he's a really pivotal young defenseman that has to be very important against Edmonton. Um, him and Miro Heiskanen together have to basically do the job of tackling Leon Draisaitl and Connor McDavid and slowing them down as much as possible. But I think physically you can see how they can match up to a team like Edmonton and kind of have the advantage there. And look, I think this Dallas Star team has faced a lot of adversity. Uh, Going up against Colorado was one of the toughest series they were ever going to face. Colorado was really good. And then Winnipeg had a really good roster as well, and you saw how they were able to kind of take the game to them. And granted, Winnipeg had their own problems, but it's Dallas who were able to take advantage of it and capitalize. And I think the key to Dallas has been Mikko Rantanen. He was the star acquisition at the deadline this year after it didn't work out in Carolina. But you see, he's such an amazing talent. When he's surrounded by great players, well, he's able to stand out. 19 points, 9 goals, 10 assists. He's been the difference maker for the Stars team. And, it's, I'm not going to say the team runs through him, but he is finally this star player that's established and that they can lean on to get them over the hump that we haven't seen in the past couple of years from this Dallas team. They've had star players, but not to the likes of Mikko Rantanen, who completely can put the team on his back and score goals and get assists and get them over that hump. So I thought it was a really smart move to trade for him. It's worked out really well for them and the whole team. You don't have to rely on Justin Robinson anymore, or Jamie Benn, or Matthew Shane, or Tyler Seguin. You have guys there who are the core four, and now you're adding this such a veteran, established star who's won a Stanley Cup and who has a chip on his shoulder and wants to prove a point to a lot of people who were doubting him a little bit going in the trade deadline. So Mikko Rantanen could be a big factor in this series, and might be able to take over the series by himself, in my opinion. And I think the other part of it, where I think Dallas has such a major advantage, is Jake Ottinger, their goaltender. Jake Ottinger, to me, and I'll say this now, 'cause I'm not afraid to say it now. Jake Ottinger, to me, is the best goaltender remaining in these conference finals. I think he's better than Bobrovsky. I think he's better than, whether it's Skinner or or sorry, forgetting his name. This is why I think he's better. I'll get his name though. Why I think he's better than Skinner or Picard, or why I think he's better than a Frederick Anderson. I know Frederick Anderson has the numbers to support what he's been doing in Carolina, but I think Jake Ottinger has just been so amazing and just, especially in the Jets series, he was lights out. And basically, I pretty much believe him and Rantanen alone won them that Winnipeg Jets series. The way he was able to keep his team in the game and stonewall majority of the Winnipeg Jets players. Jake Onger has been such a break. I'm not gonna say breaker because he has been established. We know how talented he is, but now you're starting to see that on a more national level the further they go. And Jake Onger has been such an amazing goaltender to watch for so many years, and now finally getting his flowers, I think is very cool to see. And I think, again, I think he's the best goaltender left, and he's going to provide such a massive advantage to the Dallas Stars in this series against Edmonton. And yeah, I think I really love the way the Dallas Star team plays. They play with physicality. They're able to put a lot of pressure on the puck, and they just do a really, really good job of getting out, getting down, heading down the ice, getting shots to the net, and getting the occasional dirty goal or getting the occasional great goal. Like they could do both. They're not cherry pickers, but they're also not. They don't dance around with the puck too much. They're all get down the ice, get it on net, and see what happens. That's their mentality, and they usually do a great job of doing that. So this is going to be a very, very fun series. It's going to be a very back and forth series. I do think it will go long because I think the talent on both of these teams are so impactful that we will see them go back and forth and just start throwing punches at each other in terms of goal scoring. And I think McDavid will definitely get his. I think Rantanen will definitely get his. It's gonna be a matter of not who blinks first, but who misses that first shot. Who misses that critical goal or that wide open net or who can't take advantage of a good power play. That's what it's gonna come down to, right? And I think when you think about it like that, and you think about, okay, if the margin is so thin, where's the one edge you can lean to? And I think you give it to Dallas just because of Jake Ottinger and the ability that he might be able to steal a game or two from Edmonton might be enough to get them over that hump, right? I can't see any of the Edmonton goaltenders taking a game from this Dallas Star team. I can't. I can see Jake Andre taking 2 or 3 very easily. In the playoffs, you need your goalies to steal games. And Jake Andre proved that in Game 6 and Game 5 and Game 4. He could very easily take over a game and win it. Maybe not in Game 5. Game 5 against Winnipeg, they kind of faltered a little bit. But definitely Game 6 and Game 4, he took over that net and basically stonewalled the Jets for almost 6 periods. Like, it was some of the best goaltending I've seen in a long time from a Dallas Star goaltender. I think that alone is enough to convince me that this team can and will have enough in the tank and enough in the gas tank to advance. So my prediction is going to be the Dallas Stars in 6 games against the Edmonton Oilers, and I do think Jake Onger will be the MVP of it. And I do think you will see this Edmonton Oilers team. It's kind of seeming a little bit tired, seeming a little bit, they still have great speed, but great speed is countered by great physicality. And you saw when Edmonton faced a physical team in Florida last year, they couldn't get the job done, and I don't think they added enough to prevent that. I do think they're much improved than last year's team, but I do think this team is starting to get very tired and very worn down. You saw it throughout the regular season, and I just think like in this matchup, it's not great for them, mainly because of their goaltending. I think in that regard, it's why I'm going to say Dallas. I think Dallas will make the Stanley Cup final coming out of the West. Break. Just get some water. All right. Give me a second here, Lewis. Let me just rearrange some of my notes really quickly. Just want to pull up the next one. If we're looking good, we're looking good. Just that's all I need to know. All right. All right. Let's move on to the Eastern Conference Finals now, where we have again two really, really great teams going at it. There's some really, really cool storylines in this one, and it's going to be the Carolina Hurricanes against the defending Stanley Cup champions, the Florida Panthers. We will start with the Hurricanes because they haven't played in a little bit. They took care of the Washington Capitals in a five-game thriller. Really, I mean, kind of surprising a little bit into how much they were able to beat Carolina. I mean, how much they were able to beat Washington. But that Washington team, I wasn't really high on to begin with. So, my opinion, getting that out of the way. But this Carolina team is very interesting in that it's been pretty much the same team they've been rotating for a couple of years now, a couple of additions here and there, but you still have your Sebastian Aho, you still have your Jasper Kotkaniemi, your Jack Roslovics of the world, your Shannon Goviches of the world, Martin Hook. Like the guys are still there. You still have Brett Burns, you still have Jacob Slavin, and I think this has kind of been like an interesting team to watch the past couple because they've been really good in the regular season. Just when they get to the postseason, they always seem to find a way to falter it or mess it up. And I think they've been benefited with having a favorable bracket handed to them this year because you face a New Jersey Devils team that did not have the majority of their star players and they were very hurt and very beat up, and they were able to kind of take care of them in 5 games easily. You had a Capital team that I know everybody loved. It was a great OV story. They had a great year, but that team is not playoff proven, and you saw it again against them in that series. Just too much inexperience from the Capitals, in my opinion. And I think when you look at Carolina, this has been their best chance of getting to a final with this group. So this will probably be their last chance to do it, and they have a tough ask ahead of them. But what I like about this Carolina team is I love the way they play because they play such an all out, high pressure, high intensity, sending two guys at the puck. We're gonna beat you with speed, we're gonna beat you with pressure, and we're gonna do the best that we can to get the puck off of you. Right? That's how they play. They're not physical, but they are quick and they are really, really good skaters and they're able to get on the puck a lot and they're able to hold the puck for a long time. They're a really, really solid team. Sebastian Aho has been really killing it this postseason. Andrei Sharangovich has been doing his thing, 8 goals and an assist, and they've only played about 10 games, so his numbers are not where they should be, but small sample size, you can see how well they're doing. Seth Jarvis is doing his thing. I think where you see their strength is they have everybody on this team can attack and defend. Like all their forwards are two-way forwards. They can get into the offensive zone. They can get into the neutral zone. They can play in the defensive zone really well. They don't need to score a lot of goals, but they often do. They have plenty of offensive talent on this team to do that. And on the defensive end, you know, Brett Burns, Jaden Chatfield, Shane Gostisbehere is a much improved defender. Jacob Slavin, Dmitry Orlov. Those guys are really good defenders and are able to be big bodies in front of the net, and they know how to defend. They're very smart defenders. They know what to do. They're very competitive. It's a really, really solid team that can play both sides of the puck really well. And oftentimes, when they get out to a lead, usually you don't come back from them. That's just how good they are. However, I will say there are times when Carolina does kind of get into a funk when they can't score enough. They do allow teams to kind of get on them, and teams can very easily break their pressure if they know how to deal with it. And it does lead to them getting countered on and getting opposing chances scored on them. But I think what you see different is in opposing years, their big issue has been goaltending as well, right? Their goaltending has been a real disaster the past couple of years, and it's what has led them to getting bounced out in the first, second round of the playoffs. Last year by the Rangers, the year before that, um, they get bounced by that, but whatever. But it's what's led to their playoff unsuccess in a way, right? And I think what you're starting to see is for the first time they have a goalie. Like guys, like they have a goalie. Frederick Anderson has been the truth. 7 wins, 2 losses, a under 1.4 goals against average and a 937 save percentage. Patrick Anderson is 36 years old, and he's a good goaltender. He has never looked as far good as he's looked in this playoffs. Like, he's looked amazing. He basically stonewalled all the Capitals, eliminating their scoring threats. And again, like when you have a team that is great, and they are great defensively, Carolina is. If you could have a goaltender that is just good slash great, you're not going to give up a lot of goals, and you're starting to see that. Like, it's a simple formula that's been working, right? And Carolina has always been missing that goaltender, that guy to get them over the hump, that guy to, stop a couple of goals from going in here and there, and allow them to play their defensive game, and allow them to basically shut down teams and trap them and put pressure on the puck. That's where Carolina succeeds the most. And now that they have a goaltender that they can lean on a little bit and that they can push to move to that next level, I think they have a really good chance in this series because of that. Now, I will say, Frederik Andersen has been a very streaky goaltender in his career, so he's going to have the series of his life. Because let me tell you, this Florida Panther team is very good. This Panther team just beat Toronto Maple Leafs in 7 games. And look, they are stacked, to say the least. They are a stacked team. Alexander Barkov, Sam Bennett, Brad Marchand, Sam Reinhart, Matthew Tkachuk, Aaron Ekblad, if he's not punching people in the face or hurting people, Seth Jones, Nico Mikkola has been a revelation, Dmitry Kulikov, and then Sergei Bobrovsky in goal. It's a stacked team. It's a very good team. It's why they won the cup last year, and they're coached by one of the best coaches in the league right now, in my opinion. Lewis cut this because I know who he is. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Lewis cut this because I know who it is. I'm just looking it up right now. See his face. I always do this. God. Okay, Paul Maurice. Okay. All right, resetting. They have a really good coach in Paul Maurice, who I think is the best coach left in the playoffs as well. Won a Stanley Cup last year. Really, really smart coach. Great, really good game manager coach as well. And I think, I kind of said this about Carolina, how they have so many great two-way players. Florida has those great players as well. Barkov's one of the best two-way centers in the league. Sam Reinhart's one of the best defensive forwards going back on the puck. Dmitry Kulikov is really good. Aaron Ekblad, when he's on the ice, is really good. Seth Jones has been a revelation. He's had fun and success in his career. And I think, and Gustav Forsling as well is also a really shutdown defender. And I think what you're seeing is a Florida Panther team and a Carolina Hurricanes team that kind of play similar styles. They both like to defend. They both like to get out to an early lead. They both like to kind of sit back and invite pressure and put pressure on the puck. And I think where you kind of can see an edge there in the similarities is that Florida's a bit more physical, but Carolina does have more of that speed advantage. So it's a good kind of matchup for both of them because they do, again, have very good defenses and very, very good instincts and awareness on where they are on the ice and how they play. I think it will be a fun matchup to kind of see how that will play out. And I think when you're looking at, star players here, you look at Matthew Tkachuk, right? Obviously, he is a guy they traded for, paid him a lot of money, and he's been providing. He's won them a Stanley Cup. Big reason why kind of been quiet in the playoffs, but I think it's only a matter of time. He's always an instigator. He's always going to be in that enforcer kind of role. And I think, if you're looking at somebody who's been under the radar, Sam Bennett, who really came on last year in the Stanley Cup final, just continued his postseason success. 12 games, 6 goals, 3 assists, 12 points. He leads them in scoring. He's just been such a great, great talent to watch and develop over the past couple of years. And I think this Florida Panther team just does such a great job in terms of physicality, in terms of how well they're able to balance it between being physical, not crossing the line, but also being technical and scoring a lot of goals. And I think part of that has been Brad Marchand and how he's been providing since the trade from the deadline and from the Boston Bruins, that he's been providing that kind of benefit in both. He could be a two-way scorer while also providing physicality that not you don't have to rely on Chuck to be an enforcer. You have Brad Marchand who can add depth and add quality scoring to that third line, that second power play unit. That's what he does. And Marchand also has the best plus minus on this team as well. I think there are a lot of there's star players on this Florida Panther team compared to the Hurricane team. Um, and look, I think again where the edge goes to the most because these two teams are so similar, and because significantly Florida's had a much tougher road than the Hurricanes have had getting to this point. They've kind of been battle tested, and they did win the Stanley Cup last year, so you know that they are really know they know how to win in tight games and win in playoff games where Carolina's kind of faltered in the past. I think again where you get your edge is going to come down to your goaltending, right? David Bobrovsky has been great this postseason. He's been really, apart from Ottinger, the best goaltender in the playoffs right now. I know I didn't really see him as much as that, but 8 wins, obviously, uh, under 230 goals against average, a save percentage of about 900. It's really good. It's really good numbers from Bob. And he's been a big difference maker. I'm not gonna say he's the most important player on the Florida Panthers team, but I think when you compare it to everybody else, his role and what he's been doing is a big reason why they're at this point. I think with Carolina too, Frederick Anderson has been elite. He's been really good so far, but you just feel like that other shoe is being you're waiting for that other shoe to drop, right? You're waiting for him to eventually be, oh, here comes Frederick Anderson again, giving up soft goals. He gives up 5 goals a game again. I think Frederick Anderson has been really solid. I want to give him credit. I do. But at the same time, I am waiting for that moment again where it's like, oh, well, here comes Frederick Anderson again. Oop. Or we put our eggs in Frederick Anderson, he's faltered again, and we have to pull him. He's a very streaky goaltender, so he has to be able to continue to play well for this Carolina Hurricane team to continue their run. Look, I think at the end of the day, like it's going to be a fun series. It's going to be competitive. It's going to be unique. Um, I was going to be as physical as people are going to assume it's going to be. It's just going to be perfectly fine. I think both teams don't want to make mistakes. They both don't want to take dumb penalties. They both don't want to. They both want. They don't want to play without the puck. They want to hold it. They want to have possession. I think at the end of the day, when you have series that you imagined as being close, I tend to give to the team that has been there, done that. And I've seen this Florida team really, in the most adverse situations, come out on top. I will say though, they are beatable. And this Florida Panther offense sometimes, this Florida Panther team sometimes they will shrink offensively. I'm not going to say they go quiet or they go soft, but wait for the fire truck to pass. I'm not going to say they go quiet or they go soft, but there are times where they won't score a goal for a game and a half, and that's where their offense will struggle. And you cannot do that against this Carolina Hurricane team because any semblance of a struggling offense, they will pounce on, they will get their goals, they will win that game. So this Florida team, I do think are beatable. I do think the Hurricanes are a good matchup for them. I think they're going to be a fair matchup. I think it'd be interesting to see how both sides play it out, and if at some point there is a Florida team that does shrivel up again and kind of lose 1 or 2 games because their offense still is figuring it out. When this Hurricane team has been together for a long time, they do know how to score and they will score. And I think this is going to be a fun series. I think it's going to be a back and forth series. I think my official prediction, I'm going to say, just because I have yet to see this Hurricane team get over that hump, and I don't think they have the star power to do it. And because I think this Florida team just has the experience and the players and the coach to get them over the top. I am gonna say Panthers in 6. I really like them. I think Bob can definitely step up again and win them some games. They may have a bad game or two offensively, but I cannot see this Hurricane team beating them 4 times. I think that's what it comes down to. And I think because Brad Marchand and Matthew Chuck and Barkov can easily take over a game, they will. And I think I could just see this Panther team just shutting down the Hurricanes so much defensively that while they will have enough offense to score goals, they won't have enough to win games. I think Panthers in 6 is fair, and I think it's gonna be a very fun series, and it could go either way. I'm not completely sold on the Florida either, but it should. I think how it works out and how both teams match up, Florida should be able to take care of them no problem. And there you have it. That's the preview for both sides of this Western Eastern Conference Stanley Cup final. Should be very fun. Should be very exciting. It's been a fun playoff so far. It's been very electric. Um, I think my official prediction is that we're going to see a Dallas Stars and a Florida Panthers Stanley Cup final, and that's going to be great for hockey, great for the game itself. You have two small market hockey communities coming together that have really good fan bases. And I think for both of them, it's going to be an accomplishment to what both of them have done in their community and in hockey in general. So I think it should be a fun series. Should be really a good representation of how hockey is played on both physicality and speed, and the modern game now and how it's evolved and how quick and fun it is. So, you guys listening, thank you for sticking around. Make sure you subscribe. Link to socials are everywhere. Make sure you like it. I appreciate you guys staying with me and staying to the end. Love you. Peace.